a wonderful man in Paris who said that he would love to help me with a project and gave me a carte blanche to do something with some Alaia dresses. This wonderful man I met works as the head of image for Alaia. His name is Norman. And Norman trusted me to give me plenty of freedom to do something that reflected both my aesthetic, my feelings, and Alaia. And I was overwhelmed with joy after this conversation. And I was riding my bike in Paris, and I thought that if I wanted to do something that addressed Alaia, it had to be a grand gesture, something that's both very simple but radical. And I decided to go see a bear because it seemed obvious to me that this was, the thing to do. Go out of my way, out of my comfort zone, to find a solitary, hairy, dangerous yet sophisticated wild creature, and try to just approach that creature. And I was pretty sure that that was the prompt that would allow me to create a series of images or videos that were going to reflect something relevant.
Had you been in the wild before?
Actually, I had been in the wild before. I had done a project a few years ago where I brought mass-produced Uniqlo cashmere sweaters to Mongolia, and I had all the animals that contribute to the pastoral life of Mongolia dressed in Uniqlo. So you see cashmere goats of Mongolia dressed in blue, red, green, colorful Uniqlo cashmere sweaters. So that was my first real interaction with the wild. I was born in Paris. I live in New York. I'm a city creature. I am not interested in living in nature, but I am interested in playing with it because it's it's fun. Yeah.
So, the story about how you found the bear.
So the story about how I found the bear. I was on the phone for about a month with a million people all over the planet, and then I started to focus on America, Northern America, and to make a long story short, it occurred to me that this brilliant artist friend of mine, Matt Chambers, was gonna know of a bear. And so I called Matt. I said, Matt, can you please help me find a bear? And Matt was like, yeah, I can do that. And he set me up with a bear and welcomed me into his beautiful property for a few days so that I could shoot my bear.
And how cold was it, and what were the challenges? So those aren't frozen. Those are frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, the first day of shooting was a bit difficult.
The first day of work was extremely difficult because I am not trained for the cold. I am, like I said, a person who lives in an urban environment, and I got there and it's maybe 0 Fahrenheit, and it's cold, but it's beyond cold because I'm on a frozen lake, so my feet are on a frozen lake for 5 hours.
What were you wearing on your feet?
I was wearing socks and socks over socks and rubber boots, and basically it's all about getting the right equipment. And that first day I didn't really understand, I was not exactly prepared, and I was also getting frustrated because my pictures were not that great on the first day. And I went home that night. I took a 1-hour hot shower, which was not enough to keep me warm, and I went to bed understanding what it means to die of cold, when you say mort de froid, or dying of cold, then that became okay, I get it, what that notion of cold is. But then we got lucky. The sky became clear, and working in the cold under the sun is a lot more doable. And there was also a lot of labor, carrying all those chunks of ice, and we were it was a lot of labor.
How did you get the clothes encased in ice? They were in a mold or something?
They were, It's a secret I'm not supposed to
Okay,
share,
don't
because
share it
the
then.
reason for that is because I reached out to people in that region, and I met this young engineer who's a master at ice sculpting, and he gave me access to the facility where you can freeze like large chunks of ice, and he had me promise that I wouldn't tell where the location is and all that, and I find it actually really beautiful and pretty that this would be a secret you're not supposed to share, the secret of ice sculpting.
Yeah, it's funny, like at Dries Van Noten show, they had frozen flowers, sometimes
Yeah, I
huge
saw that.
chunks.
No.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
And it's actually really hard to make aesthetic looking ice.
So you froze everything.
So I froze everything, and then I brought those large chunks of ice to the frozen lake, installed them, and photographed and filmed them as they were melting under the sun, basically.
Where did that cat come from?
So the cat is a mountain lion, and again, the mountain lion was there, and I figured why not include the mountain lion in the project, because this idea of the bear is really a MacGuffin for the project. It's all about the bear, but ultimately it's really not about the bear. It's about everything that comes in the way to finally meet the bear. So mountain lion, you belong, my friend. Oh.
So the first meeting with that bear, who looks quite relaxed.
The bear is very chill. The bear is like eating pounds of candy a day. He's
You
like,
brought it or what?
I brought him bear claw as a treat. The bear loves bear claws and chocolate. I brought him a bunch of chocolate bars, chocolate eclairs, all sorts of sweets that I could find, and the bear was extremely nice, I guess, or calm and very delicate, very sophisticated and delicate. At some point, I gave the bear an orange, and the bear peeled the orange like a human being would, if not better.
Really?
It was really, really fascinating seeing how delicate this like big and massive creature can be. Yeah.
So you came close to him to give him the food.
I came very close to him. Yeah.
Did you ever touch him?
I even kissed him.
Kissed him?
Kissed the
Where?
bear. Well,
Head?
on the mouth.
On the mouth?
I kissed the bear on the mouth. Yeah.
Were you scared? No.
No, I wasn't scared. I was intimidated. I wasn't scared because the person who was here with me was used to knows the bear and has a relationship with the bear. So I was hoping I was in good hands, and I had to. So that's the beauty of it. Also, it's. You want to go see a bear, you need to understand how to mediate a relationship with the bear. You need to, and that was the interesting part of the project. So it's one thing to go and get images, but it's also interesting to be able to, have not a relationship, but try to see what the bear likes. The bear liked our company and was happy. Like, I don't know. I can't think for the bear or speak for the bear, but he seemed to be having a good time, like eating treats and just being in the sun. It was a really lovely day.
When you kissed him, what was his reaction?
He was fine. His breath was very strong. That was not very pleasant, and the drooling, it was didn't smell very good, I have to say.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
And how long did the whole shoot take?
It
once you're there?
Took about 10 days altogether.
And how many days was the bear involved?
3 days. Like the day of work, like we shot it took about just half a day to spend time with the bear for the shoot, but we wanted to spend time together beforehand. Like that's what I meant earlier when I said that we had to establish some form of relationship. get acquainted, get to know one another, spend time, so that there would be a place of trust, so that we could just, spend a day staring at one another.
And what did you do to become friends?
I brought him a lot of candies. That was the best way to express my gratitude, I guess, for spending time with him. And he was really calm, and I think he appreciated the treats. Yeah.
And when you left, what was your last day like?
My last day was my last day was great, actually, because after the last shoot was the mountain lion, which was actually extremely scary, because the mountain lion is a very tight, rapid, and extremely scary animal. So there was a lot more tension there. And after that, once it was a wrap, I went to some hot springs in the snow, and this was heaven. And I have to say, I even put on one of the leotards that I shot on the ice to go bathing in the hot springs.
And how did you choose the pieces?
I chose to work with with archetypes from the Alaia wardrobe. So there's the leotards, the twin sets, the leggings, and then a few iconic dresses. So they're really just archetypes of a Alaia wardrobe. And also, it was important to me that the work would not be about fashion necessarily, but about clothing. And to me, the dresses and the garments in the video are really more of a I don't know. I see them as a presence, or as an absence. Like they embody a presence. The presence of a person who might have been there, might still be there, might never be there, and less as a fashion product. They're not a product. They have their own existence to me.
Had you ever met Azzedine?
I had, as a matter of fact. I was lucky enough to have met him in the past.
What was the context?
I was a teenager, and he was a very generous person. Someone I knew worked with him, and we ran into each other in the street, and there was a soccer game playing that day, and I was just invited to come watch the game in the kitchen with everyone else, and there was a really eclectic crowd, and I was exhilarated being among this fantastic people in this glorious kitchen and watching soccer, which, by the way, I do not like, but it made me like it. And then over the years, I was again lucky enough to be invited again, and I became friends with the Alaia community, I guess, at the time. Or I guess I can say that.
Did you know Françoise Auguet?
Sorry?
Did you know Françoise Auguet?
No, I didn't. No.
She was a close friend of his. She had an antique shop called Ragtime.
Okay.
But you talked first to the image director at Azzedine, and then Peter.
By the time Norman reached out to me, Azzedine had passed away, and Norman had this idea of giving artist friends this notion of carte blanche, and mine was a little involved, because not only seeing a bear is involved, but also like shooting a video, it's a little complicated. Anyway, to make a long story short, he let me use a handful of garments. I went ahead and did my project. As I was shooting this, Peter, who had just started working here and had just been appointed creative director for the brand, and when I came back to show them the work, I got to meet with Peter and show him the work, and I was really pleased because he received the project very well. He was really touched by it and liked it a lot, and he's the one who decided to present it here, which was wonderful. It was not only a really beautiful opportunity for me, but I was very happy to be able to, to see his emotional reaction to it. That was, to me, priceless, and I was really honored that he liked it, basically.
And What work of yours had Norman seen first?
Well, he had seen this. So he had seen this work in Mongolia, and another project I shot several years ago. The title was "Blowing Ricardo," and that's a work in which I took a handful of Givenchy dresses designed by Riccardo Tisci, and I brought them to an aircraft cemetery in the Mojave Desert, and I inflated the garments with air, and so you see those like inflated garments kind of dancing in slow motion among airplane carcasses, and so it's slightly odd. And obviously the title of the project was a little tongue-in-cheek because I was literally blowing those clothing, but and so that's a word that Norman was sensitive to.
How did you get started in filmmaking in the first place?
I'm not sure. I like images. I like making images, and I like to have duration in the images, and so video came naturally.
How long ago?
A very long time ago. I always like taking pictures, and my background was in architecture, but I very early on focused on making images, and
You have an agent?
No, I don't.
If
you know one for me, I'd love one.
Yeah.
But it needs to be a good relationship. It needs to be a good match.
Of course.
It's hard finding the right partners.
Yeah.
Mm.
Huh. Yeah, so what are you doing next? Another exotic trip between Mongolia and bear chasing?
In the meantime, there was also a trip to Ghana that
really?
One of the projects I also shot was in Ghana, and it didn't involve clothing necessarily, but clothing was also part of it. I went to an electronic waste landfill in Accra, and I shot a series of videos there. Again, just like Bear, they're steady shots, and the subject of this video is a small drone wandering aimlessly over the rubbish, and so the drone is this like almost like a mechanical bird. It's just like this mechanical device that's trying to interact with the context, and at some point the drone will pick up a dress that's on the side and it flows over the rubbish. I'll share images with you.
Were these commissions?
No, these are like personal projects. I've rarely had commissions in the fashion world that allowed me to make this kind of work.
But this was a commission.
This is an invitation to do something together. It's a carte blanche, but I guess it's a commission, but it's not it's this ambiguous object, and I think only in this kind of gray zone is there room for this kind of work.
Mm-hmm. Did you commercial work as well? Because you mentioned some brands.
Sometimes, but not as. I don't know if I want to say not as much as I would like to. I'm very scared of commercial work because, again, it needs to be the right relationship. I've been asked a few times to do commercial work, but they were either brands that wanted me to replicate the works that I had done, like they wanted me to replicate Blowing Ricardo for their brand. And anyway, so it was never the perfect match.
Yeah. So when do you go back to New York?
I don't know. We'll see. I have an open ticket, so I'll go back maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in 3 weeks.
And where can I see more of your films?
Well, I have a gallery in Brussels, Stam's Gallery, and so they represent my work. But I can also you come for a studio visit.
Where is your studio?
It's anywhere you want. It's pretty mobile. I just need to have my computer with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And on my website also there's my work.
So is it
It's
MARIE?
vic.com. Marievic.com.
Thank you.